I just want to say I'm really grateful for the opportunity this evening to share my personal experience and a lot of the research I've put in the area of anti-aging, right? And this, as you know, I'm super passionate about this. I think my role and what I'm good at is the ability to, hopefully, in the next 1 hour, to share in a very layman manner, to share in very simple ways, and which is also why I decided to take on this personal journey to try out some of these biohacking, some of these anti-aging methods, so that I can share it with as many people as I can, especially my loved ones and my family members. So let's get the evening started with what can all of us expect from tonight. All right. So setting intentions is always really powerful. And for me, let me first share with you how I've planned the evening for us. I'm planning to share or run the workshop in 3 main components or 3 main parts, right? So the first part, we're going to look at the research I've put together, learning from what National Geographic research on these places called the blue zones. So in these blue zones, they discovered that these places has the most centenarians. So centenarians are people who live above 100 years old. There are 5 of them, by the way. There are 5 of these blue zones where people live not just past 100 years old, but they also live very, very good lives, right? So that's first part of the whole workshop. And then after the first intermission, we're going to go dive into genetics, right? Whether genetics is the main thing that governs our health, or is it not, right? So we're going to talk about that in a bit. And the last part, hopefully we have time, is why is it that we know what's good for us, but yet we don't do it, right? In fact, I'm also, constantly struggling with this, right? And I've always been wondering why. I'm sure some of us would like to find out too, right? Okay, so before I start, I also like to share something that I've learned during my days when I was very much involved in education. Just bear with me one more thing before we really kick things off, is I want to highlight what's the best way for us to learn. And this is something I learned called the cone of learning many years ago. And the way that this workshop is designed this evening, I hope to make this interactive. And we found some ways. We're going to try this in a while, and also encourage some form of discussion during the intermissions. This is so is because if you look at this diagram, if I continue to do what I'm doing now, as in just speaking and showing you slides, you'll probably only be able to retain like 20-30% of what I share tonight. But what I want to do is, my objective is not just to give you those aha moments. I want to also help everyone retain the information. I think what we have now is actually something Karina put together as well. It's called like a Mentimeter, right? Right. So this is the first question to get us enrolled into the whole topic tonight, right? So I just want to hear from everyone. Do you think chronic diseases can be prevented? And I see there's some people already starting to vote. It's like a live survey kind of thing, right? All right. So as you can see, the numbers are, wow. So many people voting for it depends on my lifestyle. Really? Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not going to. Actually, there is truth in all 3, by the way, but we'll come to that in a while. We will only reveal the final results later in the first intermission. I see some votes also for I need to activate my genes in the right way. All right, so that's interesting, to just get us thinking about, can it be prevented? Does it depend on our genes, or is it entirely up to us on our lifestyle? But meanwhile, I want to share with you the first big idea of the evening, which is this, okay? I believe aging is a disease, right? So we always hear about diabetes is a disease, heart attack is a disease, what else? Cancer is a disease, but why don't we think of aging as a disease? Why do I even say so, right, in the first place? Now, if you look up disease in a dictionary, right, online dictionary, a disease is when something goes kind of like out of order or something breaks down. So technically, isn't aging a disease then, right? So if we look at aging from that perspective, you know what? It is something that we can fix. We can definitely do something about. All right. And with that, I want to kick off the whole entire workshop with sharing this really, really powerful diagram to help all of us kind of reflect where are we at currently. If you look at this illness and wellness continuum, like a scale, on the left is when you see premature death, right? In orange, in bright orange. On the far right is high level wellness. Now, this is a continuum whereby I believe many of us, or many people in the city especially, are actually in what I call a condition I call false wellness. Because you know what? There are no symptoms. Occasionally you get like migraine, maybe don't sleep well sometimes, but there's no major symptoms, right? You're not like you can't walk or you can't like, it's not so serious that you have to go to hospital. In fact, the funny thing about people is this. We only want to see the doctor when we are sick, right? And the funny thing is, even when we're sick, we also don't want to see the doctor. So here's the thing, here's the dangerous part. And I want you to really reflect upon this. Where are you at in this continuum, right? Are you at the good health, what I call scale, as in you do regular exercise and you look after your nutrition, you keep abreast on what wellness is all about? Or are you already showing some symptoms but have been delaying that blood test, have been like procrastinating making that appointment to see the doctor, right? So I'm not expecting you to answer me right now exactly, but something for us to think about. And this is where preventive healthcare is sometimes so hard to what I call to bring across and to really promote, because people will only take action when the health becomes poor. So what this whole session, this whole workshop tonight is all about is the fact that what we want to do is for people to start paying attention, even though there are small triggers that is already showing. And when is the best time for us to look into anti-aging? It's like now. It's now, not when you're already 70, 80, already having very serious ailments. All right. I mean, the good news is medical science is so advanced now. Many of these chronic diseases can be cured or can be treated, but sometimes it may be too late, and actually can also put a lot of family members in a lot of grief, a lot of fear if you wait till then. All right. So this is something just to for us to keep in mind as we go through the whole workshop tonight. Now, a little bit more, just a little bit more interaction here. I'm hoping. I just want to hear from everyone, right? How old would you like to live up to? All right. So while we are waiting for the votes to come in, here's the thing. Scientists in the last 10 years have actually identified that human beings at the current, with the current technology, current medical sciences, can live to about 90 years old. That's what they have been propagating. However, people around the world, different parts of the world, have different what we call life expectancy. So I'm not sure whether this will be a surprise to you. The life expectancy in America and US is actually even higher than Malaysia. Malaysia is only at 75. We are world ranked at 71, right? So I'm not sure, is it a nasi lemak or what? But we are also behind countries like Singapore. Singapore is at 83 or something like that, right? So do we have any results so far? We are checking now. How old would you like to live up to? Okay, what's the results like? We've got 70, quite a few people voted 70, and we've got, so far the oldest is 85 to 95, only one person, yeah? Very interesting. Some people only want to live up to 60. It's like, I don't want to live very long, right? Someone says forever as long as I'm healthy and forever young. Very nice, right? We've got another one that says more concerned about the quality of living. I really like that, because it's all about adding life to our years, not adding years to our life, right? Someone said Mahavir's age. Now, this is very, very interesting. I really like the fact that Mahathir was brought up, right? So here's the thing. Someone asked Mahathir before, like, how do you manage to live up to this age, right? Of course, some people say it's because of stem cell therapy, right? But that aside, it was very interesting that one of his answers has to do with what I'm going to be sharing, one of the secrets we'll be sharing later. Okay, I'm going to keep a bit of suspense there, but do remind me, Karina, if I forget to talk about Mahade, right? And how it's linked to one of the secrets we're revealing later this evening. All right, so talking about life expectancy, let's zoom right into the blue zones right now. So these are the 5 blue zones identified by National Geographic and the American National Institute of Aging. Loma Linda, California, placed in Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Greece, and Okinawa. So, of course, there's a time limitation. So I only highlight 2 or 3 of these places. And what are the common factors? Why are there more centenarians, people who live past 100 years old in these 5 places? Are we ready? Excellent. Wait, someone said teh tarik. Why? The food we eat. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. We actually, Malaysians take very high sugar content, kan? And also not forgetting the nasi lemak. All right, this is the first place, and the main reason, right, or the main characteristic is this in this place is that these people live up in the highlands and they live very nomadic lifestyles, which is also very linked to one of the key secrets. Okay, I'm going to review it now. These people actually constantly are challenged by adversities, right? They are constantly challenged and they constantly, their bodies are what you call being stimulated, right? In that sense, because they're going through some, because modern people right now, what our challenge is, I think we're killing ourselves by eating too much, by wanting to be too comfortable. Okay, we're going to come to that in a while. And coming back to this, in this place, a few other interesting things that is observed. These people drink wine as well, all right? And it's high in what we call polyphenols. In fact, in the last 10 years, there was a breakthrough scientific discovery by Dr. David Sinclair, 2010. He discovered this thing called resveratrol, which we're going to talk about in a while, and how it activates our longevity genes. So what they discovered in the blue zone so many years ago is now proven scientifically why wine actually helps us with a bit of anti-aging, or actually slowing down aging. Okay, now that said, the real secret that we discovered in the Sardinian society is that they actually treat how they treat the older people. In fact, over there, the older you are, the more you're celebrated. Isn't that amazing? Right? So in Sardinia, like people in different generations live together, and children are brought up to really love and care and respect their elderly. Right? So the social connection is really powerful in that sense. All right. So next one I want to share with you very quickly is Okinawa. Obviously, we know where it is. That's East Asia, now in Japan. And some of these things we may have already heard before. Some of the really great practices, apart from a plant-based diet. People in Okinawa obviously live by the sea, so they take a lot of plant-based foods, but also fish. But the most interesting thing, there's 2 things about Okinawans. Number one, they practice this 3,000-year-old diet called Hara Hachibu, meaning eat only we are 80% full. Now, this is something that Malaysians unfortunately find it very hard. You know why? Because since young, our parents will say, hey, Jakapa, you're not full yet, eat some more, eat some more, eat some more. And then somehow we're always also we have this, I don't know, we're just very fearful that our children go hungry. So we always feed them, are you hungry? Are you full yet? Eat some more, somehow we have to change this, right? So we are, like I said earlier, we're killing ourselves. We are actually aging prematurely because we're eating too much all the time, right? We are always constantly looking for food to find that comfort. We want to be comfortable. But you know what? Here's the thing. One of the secret is just eat until you're 80% full. In fact, go hungry sometimes, okay? More about that later as we look at the science behind why do we need to starve ourselves sometimes. Yeah? Okay, next, this is again something that's very similar to what the Sardinians are practicing, the social connection. This is really amazing. See these ladies on the top left? There's this, or is there a guy in there? I think there's one guy and 4 other ladies. This, oh, sorry, 5 ladies. Sorry. These 5 ladies have been together for 97 years. 97 years. And their average age is 102. So these 5 ladies, what they do, they literally like probably bond very close to each other, neighbors. They grew up together, went to school together, probably had boyfriends and got dumped and got married, had children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and they spend all their life together. So what does this tell us? Human beings, we are not what I call solitary creatures. We are creatures, or we are a species that needs connection. So if you want to live longer, happier, find yourself a few BFFs. And you already have, I applaud you, right? Continue building those relationships, because that's one of the key ways to really have, to really literally add life to your years, right? The other thing that's my company and my team has been embracing for a couple of years now, I think at least 7-8 years, is this concept called Ikigai, right? So the Japanese, since young, it's part of their way of being in their philosophy, and they believe in a very simple way of looking of the reason for their being, or the reason why they get up in the morning, get off their bed. It may not necessarily be like a big, huge purpose, or they want to be a millionaire, they want to make a big difference. Not necessarily. It could be as simple as their ikigai is to make sushi. It makes them extremely happy just to make sushi, and that's what makes them happy, and that's it. Very, really simple, and everybody finds their own unique way of finding meaning in their life, right? So this is very, very personal. So I hope, the audience, the participants this evening, do spend a bit of time to reflect. I think during this pandemic, this is also the beautiful time where we have a chance. We don't have the excuse of saying we don't have the time, right? A good chance for us to slow down, downshift, and think about what really makes us tick. Why are we getting out of bed every morning? And it doesn't necessarily have to be about money or success or whatever. Whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you tick. All right. The last one I want to share with you is this place in California, right? And they discovered this community called the 7-Day Adventists. Some of you may have heard of them. And for 24 hours every week, right? No matter how busy, no matter how stressed they are, they stop everything. They pause. And they focus on God, right? They focus on the social networks, and they go on nature walks. This is the other thing that's huge, and something that I've started practicing since I discovered yoga and I discovered Tai Chi. In fact, some of you may know my favorite motto, or my personal motto, which in Chinese is 该慢就慢, 该快就快. Okay, in translation to English, it means when you need to go slow, you go slow. When you need to go fast, you go fast, right? And sometimes I use this other motto called slow down to be more. So I can't emphasize enough how powerful this is, because it is honestly a little bit hard sometimes to shift that thinking and mindset. It was really, really, really difficult for me. You know why? Because remember my story I shared with you just now? I am like a go-getter. I'm a super achiever. I've always been at top of my game since my studies, my work, and everything. And what you're asking me to slow down doesn't make sense. But here's the thing: what I discovered in the last 40 plus years, especially during my health crisis, is there's no way I can move up, or there's no way I can reach my optimal potential if I don't learn to slow down, right? That's why I got myself into that huge mess, having that health crisis, and not just my health, everything was a downward spiral, right? So this is when I read about this case study, it was like, wow, this really confirms what I believe in, which is slow down to be more, right? So no matter how busy you are, just find that little bit of time in the day. And I find, actually, for me, just to share my own personal experience, that's what I do, for me to be able to have that additional spurt of energy, just to share with you, for example, for today, I'm a very, very morning person. I usually get up really early, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. And usually by this time, my energy is quite low. My energy packs are running low, right? So what did I do? So this afternoon, I took like a 10, 15 minutes power nap, and I actually forced Karina to do that as well. She was like, no, 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 I got to get ready for this session. She said, no, I want you to sit down. And she even took this hydro oxygen therapy, and then she just rested for 45 minutes. I think you can sense her energy is a lot higher right now, right? Type yes, yes, yes. No, if you notice her energy is like a bit over the top this evening. Yeah, but it's true. For us to be able to go faster, accelerate, we need to learn to slow down. Yeah, and this is something that has been proven, and they've collected so much data in the research by National Geographic. All right. So to inspire all of us, in fact, I think some of I recognize some of you in the clinic, right? And I love it whenever I get a chance to sit down to chit chat with some of you. And I recall there are some of you who sometimes say, I know, and sometimes will grumble, I know I already like no energy lah, I'm tired lah, I don't feel like doing this and that lah, I already lah, You know what? Check these people out. This is Ellsworth Wareham, 97 years old, right? He's a multi-millionaire. And I'm just going to tell a quick story about this before I move on to the second segment. Now, Ellsworth, he's pretty rich. He's got this ranch. And one day he says, you know what? I think I'm going to build this fence myself, lah. And because he doesn't want to go and hire all these people. And so he spent like an entire weekend. And you know what? The next day, he actually ended up in the hospital. But here's the thing, here's the twist. He's not on the operating table. He is actually the person performing the surgery now at 97 years old. Okay, so what are we talking about here being like, 70, 80 years old, useless, no more energy, don't want to do it. Hello, 97 years old, still doing surgery. Okay, so yeah, this is a good, I would say, inspiration and motivation for all of us that there's still so much more we can look forward to. Yeah. So which is why like at 46 last year, I decided, you know what? My last business venture failed. Never mind. I'm just going to go at it again. In fact, I'm braver and I'm more confident this time because I accumulated so much more, I've learned so much from the mistakes I've made in the last 20 over years. So now is the best time for me to build that legacy. And again, I found that this is the job I'm destined for. Yeah, this is like the job in the world that I love to do. All right, another example. This is at Rawlings, 103, active cowboy. He starts his morning with a swim. Okay, ice cold water, not heated pool, cold water. In fact, just before this session, I just had an ice bath. I'll tell you more about that in a while. And check out March 13. 104 starts a day with lifting weights, yo. Then she tears down the street in a root beer colored 1994 Cadillac Seville. Right. Stylo, yes. What's that? Who says daddy cannot retire? Oh, Karina is telling the dad. Yes. Uncle Ong, no, cannot retire. In fact, do you know that the Japanese, they don't even have the word retirement in their vocabulary, right? No such thing as retirement to the Japanese. So first segment, let's do a bit of a summary so that we can have very clear takeaways from our workshop. So this is the Power 9, right? So after studying the 5 different areas around the world, National Geographic, basically what they did was they summarized it down to 9 key things. Number 1, move naturally. So we can't go to the gym, not an excuse. Right now, gyms all closed, pandemic, never mind, right? You can walk around your taman. You can, like, for example, myself, I like to go to the garden and pull out weeds. It just make physical activity an unavoidable part of environment, right? If you're still going to work, you don't necessarily have to park right in front of the shop. You can park like 2 blocks away, of course, double mask, and then walk to your workplace. So again, stop looking for that comfort all the time. Give your body a bit of a chance, right? And get involved in activities that allow you to move naturally, right? Move naturally. So if you look at places like Okinawa, look at, what's that place called again? That place in the Highlands. They all move naturally. They don't even go to the gym, right? So they're like hiking up the mountain up and down, or going up and down the beach and all that. Secondly, know your purpose, the Japanese ikigai. Number 3, downshift. I'm not sure about work less because I think it's about balance, but definitely slow down, right? Find time to downshift. Someone says the night workout. Yeah, I know. Zoe the night workout. So, which is why Zoe comes on ECP, right? So, like, it's like a biohack. We'll talk a bit more about that. But Zoe, I'm going to convince you somehow to do. Okay, I'm going to reframe that. Don't do workout. Just do physical activity. All right. Just walk more. Okay, that's not exercise. Kan? Walking is not exercise. Someone is saying Malaysia too hot. Malaysia too hot. Well, you can always wake up at 7 a.m. to walk. I'm going to tell you more why you need to walk at 7 a.m. and not at 10 a.m., which is too hot, certainly. In terms of what we eat until we are only 80% full. Okay, plant-based foods, and if you're non-Muslim, a glass of wine. But you know what? This is what National Geographic and Blue Zones people say. I'm not a huge proponent of drinking red wine because there are alternatives. Because in the first place, why red wine is because of the skin of the what called the grape, the ango. The skin actually has a polyphenol where the resveratrol comes from. But there are now supplements with that particular component, resveratrol. So you don't need to take red wine. Yeah. So because that's alcohol, plus it's quite high sugar content. Last but not least is creating a very healthy social connection. It could, and also not forgetting a religion, or I wouldn't say religion, maybe a spiritual connection, right, with a greater spirit. And last but not least, prioritize your family. All right. Okay, what's the option to wine if you don't drink? Yeah, that's what I've just shared just now. There are some fruits which I'll share in a while as well. Fruits that are high in polyphenol and resveratrol. I'll come to that shortly. And there's some supplements that can replace that. Yeah, we'll cover that in a while. Thanks for asking that, Adele. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to recap this again at the end of the session. You know what? Because one of the things that I've learned during my training days is a part of from the cone of learning is the fact that things that we learn, if you want to retain it better, we have to review, repeat, and share with each other. All right, thank you, Karina. Okay, welcome back. If you've gone for your toilet break or whatever breaks you've taken. Now, I want to just take a quick look at the chat box, right? So I saw a message from Aisha Sinclair. Aisha, thanks for joining us this evening. So your question is, maybe we can prevent aging, yeah? But is there a way to reverse it? Great question. We'll be covering that in this second segment. So that's exactly what we're going to do. But before that, let's address this thing about genetics first. So the question that was asked at the beginning of the session was this: can chronic diseases be prevented, right? So there is a bit of truth in all three of these answers. But the thing, but scientists, and you know what? The thing about scientists is this: like every 50 years, someone is going to prove the last scientist wrong, or the scientists are trying to prove themselves wrong, right? So we can never be too absolute in whatever we read. So whatever I share today is also technically like the latest discoveries, but you know what? They can be debunked in 10 years' time again. But so far, what the scientists have discovered is this: that actually the third answer is the closest to what I've discovered. So it's not entirely dependent on lifestyle. Lifestyle, in fact, commands about, I would say, about 90%. So our genes actually plays a part. And here's the thing. This is big idea number 2 for the night, right? That there is a way to activate our longevity genes. So this probably would answer Aisha's question about, is there a way to reverse? So here's the amazing thing. The latest what I call discovery, again by Dr. David Sinclair's team, just the last, I would say literally the last 12 to 18 months, his team has actually already done an experiment, successful experiment on a mouse, where they reverse the age of the mouse's eye, right? So they've not done this for human beings yet, but they're thinking, hey, theoretically, if I can do it for a rat, I can do it for a human being, right? So, but you know what? It might take another, 5, 10 years, I'm not sure, because um, all these lab tests, clinical tests takes a lot of funding. So the scientists are constantly always looking for funding to fund all this really, really expensive research. But we do know now, based on this preliminary research, that it is possible to reverse aging. And how did they do it? They found what are those longevity genes. Okay, more about that shortly. So meanwhile, let's take a look at this really, really interesting picture. Now, anybody knows Jennifer and Karen? Quite a famous twin. Actually, some years ago, this came out. I can't remember which show, on Oprah show or Ellen DeGeneres. Identical twins. They live separately, different lifestyle. You know what? Years later, they put them together side by side in the same show, and they look completely different, right? So here's the thing. So the question I asked just now, like I said, there's a truth in everything, a bit in all three questions, but you know what? Our genes and our environment is what makes us who we are. So the question then is, how much of our health is dictated by our genes, right? Not much. The quick answer to that is, again, we don't have absolute answers, because scientists, being scientists, you never know, it might change again. But from what I've gathered in the last 5-10 years, they are saying they're estimating about 10% is dictated by genes. So I'm going to use an example, using Jennifer and Karen as an example, to illustrate what does that mean, right? So Jennifer, Karen, identical, right? So if they're identical, their DNA should be the same, correct? So the only thing is, both of them have, this is something else very interesting. Scientists have also been kind of arguing how many genes or how many chromosomes we have. So it used to be 100,000, then 80,000. The latest research shows that probably we have 23,000 genes. So Jennifer and Karen, one of the genes actually absorbs fat twice as fast as the average person. So this is what we call genetics, right? So, but what's interesting is, in the last 1-2 decades, scientists has found this new field or new thing that impacts on our health, which is epigenetics. How we activate or how we allow our genes to express themselves. So, for example, Jennifer eats healthy, low-fat food. Her genes are not triggered, not activated, right? Karen, on the other hand, eats fatty and healthy food. So her obesity genes are triggered. I noticed we've got Shukri, our dietitian, in our group as well, right? So I was just interviewing him some time ago. I don't know whether he remembers. I was asking, can you please explain to me what epigenetics means? So hopefully, like I said, my role, because of my marketing background, is to make things as layperson as possible. And I'm hoping that this is something that everyone can understand. So let me just recap that again. We are all born with genetics that we have, but we can influence how they express themselves, how they are activated. Yeah, this is very fundamental, because I'm going to share a bit more science. It gets a bit technical for a while later in the workshop, but it's really important you understand this as the foundation. Yeah. So if you look at this pyramid, and I love this pyramid, I often show this to our patients at the clinic. Because people ask me, how important is my genetics? Oh, my ayah, have heart attack, and it runs in the family, got high cholesterol. So, I already resigned to the fact that I'm going to have high cholesterol, and I probably would have heart attack also when I'm old. Not necessary, right? The good news is it's at the tip of the pyramid, maybe only 5-10% impacting on your health condition. If you look further down the whole pyramid, at the fundamental is actually our gut health, our ability to absorb the nutrition, right? So this is also quite key in terms of maintaining health. Now, we're not talking about reversing age right now. We're talking about just maintaining wellness and maintaining optimal health. So to do that, the key thing is, some of these things, if you look at the lower rungs of the pyramid, is make sure you look after your gut health, make sure you detoxify, make sure your lymph nodes are working well to detox, your sewage system is working well, control that sugar level, control that stress, make sure your immune system is at tip-top condition. So these are all the important things you need to look at to maintain, right? We're not even talking about reversing aging. We're talking about just maintaining optimal health and not going into inflammation, or not aging prematurely, right? So these are all the fundamental basic things you need to look at. All right. Now, Aina says about the do nothing day. What exactly do you do for a specific day? All right, we're going to come to that in a while because we are now zooming into the genes. Yeah. All right, so let's come back to prevention of chronic diseases. I'm going to talk about the exciting part of what latest science have shown, especially in Dr. David Sinclair's labs recently. But let's cover the fundamental first, what it means to all of us here, right? And I'm sure in our family, I won't say I'm sure, sorry. Let me rephrase myself. I'm going to assume that all of us here may have a friend or someone that we know have a chronic disease. Can I safely assume that? I think I can. Like, just for myself, okay, maybe I shouldn't assume. Maybe I'm just going to use myself as an example, right? So, just the last, let me see, 2 months, I had 2 calls from my friends, and it was really devastating. I'm 47. One of my friends is just 2 years older than me, 49. The other is 47. Both of them were diagnosed with cancer, right? And only at the age of late 40s. So we often, when we hear chronic diseases like that, sometimes we are kind of like what's the word? A bit of a denial, or there's a lot of fear involved as well. And what I want to say this evening is that we should not wait till we get phone calls like that, right? If we have this knowledge and we're empowered with this knowledge and information, I call out to you to share this with as many people as possible, right? And it is not difficult at all. It's really, really easy for us to learn this information, learn this knowledge to empower ourselves to stay healthy, right? So if you look at this, like I mentioned, most of the time we are only, because we're in denial most of the time, we are in this false state of false wellness. Remember that illness wellness continue I talked about just now. We only pay attention when the diseases occur, when the blood tests show some like red flags. But why are we waiting for that to happen before we take any action, right? So here's the thing. There are a lot of causes that are underlining which are not that obvious, right? So maybe there are, actually the body probably will have given you some triggers or giving you some hints, but we tend to ignoring them. So for example, you may have some migraines on certain days, or you may not be sleeping very well, or you may be having some skin, what I call like itchiness for a long time and it just won't go away. These are all inflammations in the body, all right? Or you may be feeling anxiety, resentment for a long time. Now, this is all the signs and triggers that the body is trying to send to you. And please, please do not ignore them. Seek help, right? So just bear with me for a while more on this, because this is something that I feel is really important for all of us to be able to know about. Most of us are very familiar with the Western medical practice, correct? Right? Because it is disease-oriented, what I've just said just now. It is also very reactive. Only when the chronic symptoms appear, then we'll seek help, right? And whenever we go and see a doctor, and it's not the doctor's fault, because it is what it is. The Western doctors have a lot of patients to see, right? They have a quota, right? They don't have time to advise you about lifestyle and how to manage your emotions, your relationships. No, they don't have that time, right? So hence, their interventions are typically very short-term and very symptomatic. They treat symptoms, right? What we need to do in integrative medicine, which is what we practice at the clinic, is a more wellness-oriented approach. Is preventive, and we focus on little triggers. Watch out for all those little triggers. Like I'm very, very, for example, just using myself as an example again, I'm very aware. Every morning when I wake up, I would scan my body, literally scan your body. And this is another great practice. Everyone, if you're still following me, I want you to type the word "scan my body," right? Just type "scan my body." It's really powerful. When you wake up in the morning, pause, don't whip up your phone and start scrolling straight away. And that's probably, I don't know, what most of us do, right? So every morning, I train myself not to pick up the phone first. I just stay in bed for a while. I still remain my eyes closed. I take a few deep breaths, slowly watching how my body is waking up and scan my body and how it feels that morning, right? And sometimes I'll find a funny twitch in maybe one side of my back, or I might feel something not right. And that is to train ourselves to be more aware, more sensitive to how our body is feeling. So what I'm trying to say is, quick example, be aware of your body, and that also is related to what I call mindfulness practices, right? So one of the biohacking hacks I'll be sharing as well in hopefully by end of today's session, or I think probably in part two. I'll share more about the how to in part two, because today's session, I have to apologize first. I've got so much I want to share. It's very content packed, but I hope we're still okay, yeah? That you guys are still following. But this slide is really, really important. I want to emphasize that, our long-term goal is to really, in terms of being able for us to achieve the optimal health, is really to prevent and to really be aware whenever all these little triggers happen, right? So this is something else that a lot of people are not aware of. I mean, I wasn't aware of this until I started our integrative medicine clinic. I did a whole bunch of research, right? And I said, my gosh, I wish more people knew about what functional medicine tests are, right? So typically, people will go for the standard, and then you sometimes see all this iklan, all these advertisements, oh, comprehensive blood tests. I'm like, okay, what do you mean by comprehensive? Okay, so comprehensive to show that you already have disease, right? Honestly, sometimes it's really a bit too late. What we should be doing also is to look into other tests, and I'm going to use my wife now, Sue, as an example. So last year we had a bit of a scare. What happened last year, on a serious note, was that she was not in a very good state, I would say, in terms of health. Wasn't sleeping well, she was having migraines, neck pain. And again, like I said, these are all the triggers. And I'm really glad, and I'm quite happy, I'm quite proud of myself, how I managed to convince her to go to an integrative medicine clinic and do some of these functional medicine tests. Because I told her, hey, you know what, dear, we're going to start our own integrative medicine clinic. I think we should go and do research, right? So I think she went because for the reason that, oh, we need to do research for our business, so therefore we need to go and do it ourselves. But anyway, regardless, whatever, how I convinced her, I'm glad she did it, because we found out in some of these functional medicine tests that her inflammation level was extremely high. It was 7 times the level of a normal person, right? And we found that her lymphatic nodes were also blocked. So the typical blood tests that we do actually do not reveal such things, right? So these are just some of them. I won't go in detail. Again, there's just so much for me to cover. I can't go into every single little thing, but if you're interested to know more about functional medicine tests, just Google, right? Just Google. There's so much info you can find online about functional medicine tests, right? The simple ones are like the hormone test. There's also toxic metals. You can measure inflammation. All these are all the little things that you can measure to kind of predict. In fact, in some places, I'm not sure whether in Malaysia, I need to find this out as well. They are now even able to take a sample of your blood and predict how, when are you going to die? That's literally like the latest research that they have come up with, the latest breakthrough. I'm not sure whether they have it in Malaysia, but in overseas, they're able to do that already. So labs are becoming really, really, really advanced. All right. So enough on functional medicine tests. Let's get into the juice of tonight, right? So the question is, why do we age? Because if we understand why we age and how we age, then there's a possibility of us learning how to reverse our age. Yes, Karina? Why are you so excited? No. Okay. So, do you want to know why we age, everyone? Yes? I just want to check if everyone's still following me. Type yes if you're still following. Do you want to know why we age? Yes. Okay, I see yes, yes, yes. Aisha, Adele, Gabriel. The rest, not quite sure whether you want to know. Okay, I want to see a couple more yeses. Thank you, just to keep everyone awake. All right, here's the thing. The most common thing we hear in a lot of marketing, a lot of advertising online is this, right? We hear that aging is due to increase of free radicals. How many of you have heard of free radicals? Type yes if you've heard of free radicals. Yes. All right. And this is being propagated in a lot of blogs, websites, and direct marketing companies. because they say free radicals, and by the way, the increase of free radicals is due to, okay, a bit scientific here, the breakdown or the deterioration of our mitochondrial, which are like our energy packs. Because of deterioration of mitochondrial function, free radicals goes up, and this leads to chronic inflammation. So all these so-called anti-aging experts say that the reason why we're aging is because of chronic inflammation, right? And it leads to this thing called inflammaging, which makes us more susceptible to chronic disease. So, true or false? I asked a lot of questions this evening. A lot of yes or no, true or false. What do you guys think? Type true if you think it's true, false if you don't think it's true. It's just propaganda. It's just trying to sell us more supplements to reduce inflammation. What do you think? Most people say yes, true, 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 true. Wow. Okay. Here's the thing. I think it's only partially true, right? I don't think it's false. There's definitely a lot of, in fact, I think before David Sinclair's papers about his latest findings, most of the scientific fraternity believes that inflammation is the main cause. But here's the thing. The latest, do you want to know the latest research? So this came out in the last 12, 18 months, right? These latest journals, again by David Sinclair's team. And they found out something really interesting. But before that, let's take a look at why we age. Let's talk a little bit more about that before we talk about the main reason why we lose, yeah? Why we age. So as we age, the body loses a lot of things. Telomeres, sorry, a bit technical, but I think this is really interesting. Telomeres are like the tail ends of our chromosomes or our cells, where when they split up, that's the end. And eventually, if the telomeres are shortening, what it means is the cells will stop to replicate, in other words, right? DNA damage, gene expression errors, proteins become less functional, so many things. Metabolism goes down, stem cells can't produce anymore. You know stem cells? They are our most, the most original, and the cells are able to regenerate, right? Let's put it that way in simple terms. Now, above all, what has been discovered is this. Why is our body losing all these things? What's causing it, right? So here's the thing. They have found that our cells become demented. Anybody knows the term dementia? Right? So that's when, as we grow older, we kind of lose the ability to remember things or remember information. So imagine that our cells is like a DVD disc. You know, like many years ago nowadays, and we don't use DVD anymore, yeah? But those of us who are from the 80s, 90s will remember the DVDs. And do you remember that when they get scratched, it gets like, you can't really read it properly. So that's basically what happens to our cell as we grow old. It loses the ability to read information. All right, so that is the why. Now, so here's the thing. Why? Then that leads us to another question. Why is it that our cells are losing the ability to read information? Now, coming back to Mahathir now. Why do you think Mahathir is still so sharp, right? He can still argue and win a debate and win, like, even at, how old is he again? 96, 97? Right? So he obviously hasn't lost the ability to read information, right? Because he's so sharp. Do you want to know why? Because he doesn't stay comfortable, right? So I said this earlier on in the workshop. The reason why we're killing ourselves, and this is related to why our body and our cells are losing information, is because ability to read information is because we just love to be comfortable, right? Now, this picture on the right illustrates it the best, right? Sometimes we only have one tiny luggage, but we still want to, at the airport, right? We still want to find that trolley, put a little bag, and we just want to like enjoy our walk towards the place where we pick up our luggage, right? How many of us love to just lounge and just like spend hours in bed, not getting out? Zul, are you one of them? okay. Shouldn't be targeting you. But here's the thing, really, we're killing ourselves, we're getting too comfortable. And the genes gets turned off, the genes get scratchy, cannot read info anymore, becomes demented, right? And the word comfort also stretches to the fact that we like comfort food. When we are stressed, when whatever, we will like really eat, right? Then we think all this, we just want to find comfort lah. So food is also the other thing that is why it leads to this. This picture is from which movie? Yeah, it's called. Do you remember, Karina?
Wall-E.
Wall-E, right? Remember Wall-E? All the people, they were relying so much on all these robots. They become so comfortable and they become so obese. So obesity is one of the key reasons for premature aging, right? So what's the key take out from here? Don't get too comfortable, right? Someone is asking, what's the difference between too comfortable and slowing down? Let's cover that shortly in the intermission, if you remind me. Okay, awesome. Okay, so the good news is, let's come to longevity genes. Can they be turned back on? So I shall answer your first question first, right? Can it be reversed? The exciting thing is this. I'm so excited when I found all this research, right? It can be reversed, just like that mice, it can be reversed. And whilst they are still studying, doing more further tests, they have already discovered that there's this protein in our cells called sirtuins, and there's 7 of these sirtuins, right? And these sirtuins act like the CEOs of our cells, like a traffic controller. They they keep everything in balance because there are hundreds or maybe thousands of departments and workers. Each cell is so tiny but so complex, right? So these sirtuins play CEOs, like make sure everything's in balance. They also make sure that inflammation is kept low. Whenever oxidative stress is up, they push it down. They improve the metabolism rate. And they make sure our battery packs, which are the mitochondria, they are functioning well so it can extract energy to power the body. It makes sure our stem cells are not deteriorating too much. It's repairing DNA. So they've found that these certain proteins are the most important, right? So, and they found a way to actually activate this sirtuins. So sirtuins are technically what we call the longevity genes, right? And how can they do it? They need these coenzymes called NAD+. Sorry, I'm getting a bit technical. Just bear with me. This will just take a while. I'm going to move back to more layman stuff. But here's the thing. How to activate my longevity genes. Okay, so here's what the latest science have shown, and they are already, some of these advanced companies, they've gotten funding, multi-million, billions dollars. They have already started putting out supplements, not the NAD+ itself, but NAD+ precursors to increase the amount of NAD+ protein coenzymes so that it activates those sirtuins. Sorry, I think I sound a bit too technical already, right? But just bear with me. I'm going to move on from here very quickly. The other thing is this. Remember the wine, the grape, the skin from the grape. So there are a couple of fruits or like peanuts. They discovered that these fruits actually have high resveratrol. Now, resveratrol is also very important to be able to increase NAD+ in the cells, which is why this is like, again, the latest breakthrough in these 2 key areas in anti-aging science. But that said, I have not tried NAD+ precursors. I've not tried any resveratrol supplements, so I'm not going to recommend any, or I'm not going to, maybe in my next session, in my next cycle of biohacking, I'm going to try these 2 out and see whether it really works for me. But it is still very early and there's still a lot of clinical tests being done. So meanwhile, what can we do, right? Are there any other ways to activate our longevity genes? All right. So the answer is yes, right? So not necessarily we have to go and buy these expensive NAD+ precursors or resveratrol. If you want to try them out, by all means, fine. But there is a natural way of activating our longevity genes. All right. And it's called hormesis. Okay. So are we good to move on? We have about 20 more minutes, yeah? Everyone still cool? Can follow, yeah? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, awesome. Right, hormesis. So here's what I've been doing to myself the last 90 days or last 120 days. So when so I've been preparing for this workshop for a while now. And one of the key things I put myself through, actually I enjoyed the torture because I you know me, since young, I'm this go-getter. I like to try new things and all that. And I was also very fortunate that we have very supportive strategic partners. So like if you look at this picture on the top right, featuring infrared sauna, this is actually by Sweat Spa. So thank you, Sweat Spa. I think Sabrina is with us this evening as well. Thank you, Sabrina. Lots of love. Thank you for sponsoring me, the Sweat Spa experience. And this is one of the ways, we call it temperature interventions, like putting the body into a state of homeostasis. Now, I realized I didn't talk about homeostasis now, right? So homeostasis is this. It is basically a condition, a biological reaction that happens when you have like a short and small dose of something that is usually harmful in very large dosage. So imagine if you are right under the hot, scorching sun for like 3-4 hours. Is that bad for you? Yes, it is very bad for you, right? Or if you try to swim inside, I don't know, like North Pole ice cold water for half a day, you probably die, right? So that is like in its extreme, in large doses, is really bad for you. But in small doses, is actually good because you're training the body to actually go into what I call like the survival mode. It's like, oh, something's happening. I need to survive. I better do something. I better reactivate my cells. I better reactivate my longevity cells. So, which is why this heat therapy and ice baths or even cold showers are amazing. So I've been doing cold showers for the last 4 months, and I can tell you it's pretty amazing. I used to like, I don't know about you, but I used to, in the morning, it takes me a while to like really wake up the body, and also have to rely on coffee in the morning to give me that kickstart. But you know what? I don't need that anymore. First of all, I will do my cold shower. No, actually, I don't. I actually go for my morning walk first, right? I'll do my meditation, my mindfulness practice. I'll go for a morning walk, get some morning sun. And on another occasion, I'll tell you more about the power of the morning sun. But then after that, I'll take my cold showers. So, and I just did an ice bath before this, right? I took a bunch of ice, like really splash my body and like just down myself with ice. And I just got another burst of energy just right before this workshop. Now, so we talk about temperature interventions, cold showers, ice baths, heat therapy. I think what's happening is, if not mistaken, Sweat Spa has kindly also sponsored like vouchers for everyone, right? 50 ringgit voucher for you to try this infrared sauna. Basically, imagine this. It's like all the benefits of the sun without the UV, without the radiation, right? So just like 30-45 minutes in this heat therapy, just pushing your body a little bit more, and you sweat like an animal. I'm not going to say the P word, right? You sweat like an animal, right? In that 30-45 minutes. A couple of other ideas on what you can do to put your body into that little bit of stress. So like I said, a bit of stress is good, is fasting. So there's a lot of contention, a lot of discussions, arguments about intermittent fasting. But you know what? It is now proven. The scientists have proven that going hungry once in a while is actually good, right? So I'm not going to talk too much about this because fasting is another really entirely interesting area. I will leave that for part 2, which is next week. We talk more about fasting. How long should I fast? Should I fast 16 hours? How often should I fast? Should I fast one day? Is there a difference if I fast 1 day and 3 days? What happens? Do I reset the body if I fast 3 days? Do I reverse my age or what? So we'll talk about that next week. Just one last idea of what I practice in homeostasis is I work out like a hunter-gatherer, right? So all these months, no gym, no problem. I find my way around the house to look for things to work out with. Like this one, I find quite funny. I use the gas tank to do squats. And by the way, doing leg exercises increases your hormones, your testosterone hormone for the men. And there are a lot of exercises that you can do. But the key thing is this: remember, homeostasis is all about putting your body into that stress, but not too much, because then if you do it like too much, then it becomes like it's like wearing and tearing your body too much. No, right? So the best is like the sort of called HIIT training, HIIT, high intensity but very short. Like now, in my new cycle of 90 days, I'm now only doing 10 minutes. No, actually 3 minutes of stretching, 7 minutes of high intensity calisthenics. Only 10 minutes every morning. That's all I do. But once a week, I will do like 1 hour of weights. So instead of working out 3 times a week, I only work out really like heavy weights once a week. Yeah. So yeah, so we'll talk more about this as well next week lah. Right. Gabriel says never forget leg days. Yes. Leg exercises if you want to increase testosterone. Yes. All right. What's up next? Let's see. Okay. There are a couple of other things that we can do. Now, some of you may be asking, this is for one of my favorite patients at the clinic, Zol. Zol is still around? Yeah. And he's one of those who says, you know what? I don't want to change my lifestyle. I don't want to do all these crazy things that you want to do. So are there any shortcuts? So the good news is there are some shortcuts, but not, I won't say not recommended, right? I'm saying that we need to integrate lah. We need to integrate for best sustained results. Do what we need to do and enhances with some technology. So these are some of the things that I do at the clinic, which in a way hacks some of these things that we sometimes a bit lazy to do, or we find that we have what I call the excuse of saying that we don't have the time lah. Or it also could be because it may be a bit late. So for example, I actually have a knee problem, right? And I can't do running, right? I can't do a lot of cardiovascular exercise. So this machine on the right side is called the ECP machine. It's external counter pulsation machine. So what it does, it does cardiovascular exercise for you. It pumps up blood in a very intense manner. So 1 hour on this machine is equivalent to like 60 minutes of running, right? 6 kilometers of running, sorry. Yeah, and this other device on the bottom right, the one I'm sitting on, is called a G chair. It helps to thicken the pelvic floor muscle. So some of us will ask me, hey, you know, body deteriorating, how to reverse? The muscle already gone, how? So there are technology, or there are advanced machines like this one, right? Which helps to thicken. It's like, in Malay, we call exercise kemot, or in English, we call Kegel exercises. So this machine does the Kegel exercise for you, right? So I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but basically, yes, there are some technology that can help to biohack or help us, I won't say reverse aging, I would say maybe slow down the aging and prevent the chronic diseases. All right. Who says I like shortcut? Try homeostasis lah. Try. Okay, try. TRY, try. Okay. All right. So, shall we now address what Aisha was asking just now? We're almost there, right? Towards the end, the last intermission. I've got maybe 1 or 2 more slides. No, Aisha is asking more about the difference between comfortable and slowing down. Okay, let me just cover these 2 more slides and we are done. We talked about inflammaging just now, right? And the fact that inflammation is one of the main causes that speeds up aging. So it's true. So what can we do about it? So I promised that I'll share some of my own personal experience, and I didn't want to get too technical, too much science. So what I've done is, in the last 120 days, I've been very blessed. I was sponsored by a couple of our partners, and I decided to only take 3, because if I take too many things, I don't know what to track, right? I can't measure. So I only took 3. One of them is olive leaf extract. And for my own personal experience, this has been amazing for me and my family. Honestly, I can't remember when was the last time I felt sick. Literally, I can't remember. Maybe a few years ago. At most, I might have some sniffles. I might feel a bit dry in my throat, and then the next day is gone. And whenever I feel like that, I would very quickly take a slightly higher dosage of olive leaf extract. And this is amazing natural antioxidant. It's 400 times greater than vitamin C. All right. The other thing that that I've personal experience is sacha inchi oil. This is, some of us since young we've been taught to take like fish oil. Fish oil is mainly omega-3, right, Shukri? Omega-3. But here's the thing. What I've learned in the last 3-4 months is this. Our body actually needs not just 3, but we need 3, 6, and 9, and it has to be in a certain ratio. I can't remember the ratio, it gets too technical, but sacha inchi oil has the most, it's not super perfect yet, but it has the closest correct ratio of the 3, 6, and 9. And fatty acids are very, very critical to help us slow down aging and minimize inflammation, right? So these 2 things has been doing has been really like helping me a lot. And like I said, I'm very, very aware of my body. Whenever I feel like something's not right, for example, just a couple of days ago, I don't know why I suddenly had this itch and some rashes fell out on my left arm. I just don't know why, it just happened just like that. And I just took higher dosage of olive extract and it just went off 2-3 days later. So yeah, so just being very mindful about your body and just make sure the inflammation is kept at very, very minimal level. Whenever I feel like slightly achy, I tell myself, okay, go slow down. You know what? If I can, I'm going to cancel my appointment today. I'm going to take half a day off, for example. So these are all the ways to really juggle your inflammation level. And the last thing that I've been taking is doing me quite a lot of good is actually T-Max. I'm sure you guys have heard of the what I call Tongkat Ali and all that. So this one is a blend of 5 herbal extracts, including Tongkat Ali. This is mainly for the men, yeah. For yes, it helps with sexual performance, but mainly is for vitality, right? And to also balance out our hormones. So I call this like the king of hormone supplement, right? So these are the 3 key things that I take, right? If you want to find out more about this, can ask me or Shukri. Those of you who know Shukri is from our dietitian for the clinic. I promise that we will cover why is it that we don't do the things that is good for us, like, yeah. So I will probably give you a bit of a glimpse and then we will come back to intermission break, right? So which is this? The main reason for this is most of the time, no, 95% of the time, we're not even acting on free will. We are on autopilot, right? So this is what we're going to cover next week, along with what we're going to talk about autoimmune system, right? And also other biohacking or other ways to reverse aging, including stem cell therapy. All right. So before we end tonight's session, I just want to do a quick recap. The two key takeaways before we pause for any questions and discussions, right? First key takeaway, the Blue Zones Power 9, right? I'm going to get Karina to send this to everyone. If you want a copy of the slides, we'll be happy to share them with you. Just provide us your email. Please, so let's remember this. Some of the really good advice are like slowing down, knowing your purpose, do physical activities. And the number 2, the key thing I really want everyone to be able to take away from tonight is what doesn't kill you makes us younger. What doesn't kill us makes us younger. All right. So one homework that I would like to give everyone before next week's session is do something that challenges you or scares you. Because we want to be comfortable all the time, right? How about this? In the next 1 week, try something that makes you uncomfortable. Yeah, and I would love to hear from you next week. Let's look at some of these questions. Right? If we can't cover all of them, we will cover them next week. Yeah. So we have got, what's the difference between being too comfortable and slowing down? Okay. Let's just read through them quickly. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, cool. I think some of them we've already addressed. Let's talk about Made, right? Because I promised we'll do that. So I think the reason why I want to highlight this question is that this actually kind of reinforces the one of the big ideas we are sharing this evening, that we are killing ourselves by wanting to be too comfortable all the time. So Made is not like that. Made likes challenges. He likes adversity. He likes to fight. So it's already in his DNA, I would say, because it's been like that all the while. So the advice is, again, do something that challenges you or scares you, yeah, and that will keep you young, right? And that's one of the ways to really keep young or slow down the aging. So that's Made's secret. He loves adversities. He loves to fight, right? And I probably want to cover a little bit about the slowing down and being comfortable. When do we know it's slowing down, or when do we know that, is it being too comfortable, right? What's the difference, right? Being lazy, right? So here's the thing. Again, scan your body, you would know, right? So there is definitely a difference, because it's all about a rhythm, a certain, because everybody's, in a day, you have a certain rhythm, right? You probably would have planned your schedule out. And you will notice that sometimes you're getting too caught up. You're like, you're out of breath. Your mind is like all over the place. These are already the signs telling you that, hey, I think you need to slow it down a little bit, because your mind is not clear anymore. You're not able to make good decisions. You're reacting in a very knee-jerk manner, and you're probably also not very fun to be with. So that is already giving an indication that you need to slow down, right? Being too comfortable, on the other hand, is like, it's literally wanting to be lazy, like you can, for example, if you can carry 2 bags, carry them instead of putting them on a trolley and push them, right? If you can just um, take that walk, the longer walk to your office, take that walk instead of like driving all the way up to your office. So I think that would be, hopefully that gives you an idea about how to differentiate about being comfortable and slowing down. All right. So I think that's
Just in time.
we're just in time. It's exactly 10 p.m. right? So I hope I've created value for everyone. So thank you again for having me. Yeah, I'm just really, really grateful that to have the opportunity to share. And I'm really, really looking forward to next week. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Aina. Thank you, Zul. Thank you, Aisha. Joel, Sun. All right.